stops. Kick out to Reese. Can't hit the tray.
This is your star. This is who the mainstream media claims is the face of the WNBA. Someone who has made it to the professional level.
One screenshot, two of the most talked about women in America, and a fight that millions of people joined before anyone stopped to ask if it was even real. On one side, WNBA star Angel Reese. On the other, Hollywood's Sydney Sweeney. Between them, a leaked exchange so perfectly built to go viral that it tore across Facebook and X in a matter of hours.
You know what I like about Sydney Sweeney? Well, Uncle KC, it's so obvious. She has gigantic bazooms. For starters, I'm a married man, and I spend my weekends grilling meat, not beating meat. So her risque pictures don't really do a damn thing for me.
There was just one problem. It never happened, and one tiny detail buried in the image gave the whole thing away. Stick around, because how this fake spread tells you everything about how the internet works right now. To understand why this blew up, you have to understand the setup. For weeks, Sydney Sweeney had already been at the center of a real controversy, her American Eagle Great Genes campaign, which critics read as a loaded play on words.
I'm not here to tell you to buy American Eagle jeans, and I definitely won't say that they're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn, or that they make your butt look amazing.
And supporters wrote off as harmless. The ad was everywhere. The discourse was exhausting. The internet was primed and looking for a fight.
What I like about Sydney Sweeney, she has become this symbol. She is the perfect illustration of the difference between normal people, mainly normal dudes, and woke wanker spankers who aspire to be woke women. Normal dudes, we enjoy looking at Sydney Sweeney, or any beautiful woman for that matter. The spankers, they look at Sydney Sweeney and say, "Ew, gross, where is her beard?"
So when a post appeared claiming Angel Reese had fired back, accusing the brand of being disrespectful to black culture, bragging about having 3 billion fans, and capping it off with the line, "The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice." It didn't land in a vacuum. It dropped into a conversation that was already on fire. It had every ingredient the algorithm craves. 2 famous names, a culture war flashpoint, and a quote engineered to make half the internet furious, and the other half defensive. People didn't share it because they'd checked it. They shared it because it made them feel something.
You've made a really good case for keeping your thoughts and your life separate from that work. But the risk is that, there's a chance that somebody will get some idea about what you think about certain issues and feel like, I don't want to see Christy because of that. Like, do you worry about that?
No.
Within hours, the sides had formed. One camp rushed to defend Reese. Another rushed to defend Sweeney. A third just grabbed the popcorn and watched. Comment sections filled with thousands of people arguing about beauty standards, race, and celebrity ego. All of it built on a screenshot not one of them had actually verified. And this is the part worth slowing down on. Look at what nobody was doing. Checking. The debate had already skipped past, "Is this real?" and jumped straight to "What does this mean?" That's the move modern social media is built to reward. Outrage travels. Nuance doesn't.
Well, if you consider the substandard play in the WNBA dump to be professional basketball, me personally, I refer to it as pretend basketball, but either way, whether professional or pretend, Angel Reese has made it to the top of this so-called profession, and she doesn't know how to properly shoot?
But a few people did stop to look, and once they did, the cracks showed fast. There was no video, no verified account, no screen recording, none of the trail a real post from a famous person leaves behind. News searches turned up nothing. And think about that. If Angel Reese had genuinely said any of this, it would have been the top story on every sports site in the country. It was on none of them. And then there was the detail that ended the argument. In the viral image, someone had crudely edited a mustache onto Angel Reese's face. The original photo, a clean publicity shot, had nothing of the kind. This wasn't a leak. It was a meme that got mistaken for news. The quotes were fabricated. The image was doctored. The whole thing was fake. Here's the uncomfortable part. Being fake barely slowed it down. By the time fact-checkers caught up, the screenshot had already reached millions. And that's the pattern every single time. The lie gets the morning, the correction gets the afternoon, and a fraction of the attention. False information online tends to spread faster and wider than the truth, for a simple reason. The truth is usually less exciting. It also helped that both names were magnets to begin with. Angel Reese can't post a workout clip without it becoming a headline. Sydney Sweeney can't walk a red carpet without it trending. Put them in the same frame, even a fake one, and you've manufactured a perfect storm. This post didn't go viral because of what it said. It went viral because of who it pretended to say it. So what do you actually walk away with here? Not a verdict on Angel Reese. Not a verdict on Sydney Sweeney. The real story isn't either of them, it's us. And how easily a doctored screenshot can hijack a full day of everyone's attention. Making a convincing fake has never been easier. A believable quote, a real photo, a few minutes of editing, and you've got something millions of people will treat as fact. The only real defense is a habit, and it's a boring one. Before you share the next screenshot that makes your blood boil, ask the unglamorous question first. Did this actually happen? Is there a real source, a real video, a real account behind it? Or just an image designed to make you react? Because viral and true are not the same word. This whole thing proved it. It got the entire internet arguing about a conversation that never took place. So here's my question for you. Did you see this one before you found out it was fake? And be honest. Did you believe it, even for a second? Drop it in the comments. And if this breakdown was worth your time, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because in a world moving this fast, somebody's got to slow down and check.
So yeah, if you guys didn't know, Caitlin Clark was sick in this game. Caitlin Clark was sick, so we're going to be reacting to a little bit of James Boyd's interview with Caitlin Clark right here. And she came out, I thought she had a really good second half. Like she had 10 points, 3 assists, and it was timely. There was a really, she had some timely scores in that second half.
Caitlin Clark threw up at halftime. Not nerves, not a cramp. She tried to eat a little applesauce. It came right back up. And then, in her own words, everything else in her stomach came up with it.
Can you take us through what happened at halftime?
Yeah, I mean, a little sick, but I don't know. I tried to eat some applesauce and then it just came up, and then everything else in my stomach also came up. So I thought I was gonna stay down, and then I found a trash can, thank God, and I haven't puked that much in a really long time. So, but then I felt fine. I felt light, so I was running around feeling good in the second half, but I feel okay. Obviously, I'm losing my voice a little bit, but I'll be good.
Most players take the rest of that night off. Clark found a trash can, pulled herself together, and walked back out against the second best team in the league. Then she went and buried Angel Reese all over again. So before you read one more headline about Caitlin Clark falling apart, watch what she did while she was literally sick. Let's back up because the story was already written before the ball went up. The Fever had just lost 2 in a row, first to the Golden State Valkyries, then a 20-point beatdown from the Portland Fire. And after that Portland loss, a sideline moment between Clark and Coach Stephanie White got clipped and shared about 10,000 times. Suddenly, every outlet had the exact same take. A rift, a locker room problem, a team playing slow, boring basketball and bleeding viewers. Indiana walked into June 4th at 4-4, buried under a week of bad press, with everybody waiting for the collapse.
And greetings from Cambridge Fieldhouse in downtown Indy, where tonight the Fever begin their Commissioner's Cup title defense as they host the Atlanta Dream.
And Clark's answer to all of it was almost boring. She said she was not reading any of it. She called the scrutiny exactly what it was: noise.
Kaylin, you're used to being the eye of the storm and a lot of external noise and whatnot. How was this week? How are you feeling about this week? It seems kind of loud.
I've got that question from a lot of people. A lot of people have called me and asked how I am, and I said, "What do you mean? I'm great." I think a lot of self-reflection for everybody. Like, you look yourself in the mirror and you find ways to get better. That's certainly what I did.
She said she spent the week playing Catan, playing Scrabble, going to dinner with friends, and watching Game 1 of the finals.
And I know me and Kareem were having this conversation yesterday. Usually you're playing and you have day off and you're playing, and I think obviously losing by 20 and, having 5 days for everybody to talk about the way we played maybe wasn't to the best for us. But I think one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten in life is, everything's a 2-day story. People are just gonna be on to the next, whether you play good, whether you play bad. And, say we come out here and play great tonight, well, we can't get too high. We have New York on Saturday or whatever day that is. I don't really have the days of the week correct. So I think for us, it's, take a day at a time. But personally, I'm doing great. I don't really read that stuff. Like, I know everybody can have an opinion, and people make me aware. I have to be aware of things that are going on, but I'm not sitting on Twitter or social media reading those things. And, obviously everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but I think the opinions I care about are, my teammates, the people in the locker room, the front office, this organization, my family, my friends. We have a tight-knit circle, but I'm doing great. Like, I played a lot of Catan this week, played a lot of Scrabble, hung out with some friends last night, went to dinner, and watched Game 1 of the finals, which was pretty fun, and then watched a lot of film. But doing well, and more than anything, excited to get back out there and play. I know this group has really been itching, and we had some good days of practice, but we're ready to just go out there and play again.
While the internet wrote her obituary, she watched film and waited. Then June 4th handed her a stage. Here's the part the rivalry crowd does not want to hear. Angel Reese finished with 11 points and 10 rebounds. Scroll past it fast, and that looks like a clean double-double. Sit with it for 1 second, and it falls apart. 4 of 9 shooting. A game high, 4 turnovers, more than anybody on either team. And those 11 points came on the same night Atlanta's entire offense cratered to a season low.
Today, Angel Reese chokes, shrinks, crumbles under the spotlight against the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark, in her professional career, has now lost 1 time against Angel Reese. In fact, ever since Angel Reese followed Caitlin Clark around in that national championship game, doing the John Cena "You Can't See Me," Angel Reese has only beaten Caitlin Clark 1 time since that moment. It's no doubt, folks, the biggest game on everybody's calendar is going up against the Indiana Fever and playing against Caitlin Clark.
Reese did not anchor anything. She went down with the ship. Off the bench, Natasha Hines-Allen physically bullied her in just 16 minutes, grabbing 7 rebounds and making her life miserable every time they shared the floor. A double-double in a season-low blowout, where you also turn it over more than anyone on the court, is not a good night. It is a stat line that reads okay on paper and dies the second you watch the tape.
But a certain somebody in the WNBA, not only is it their it's the Super Bowl, it's the ball drop on New Year's Eve, it's, you name it, circled, that's the game. Or at least that's been the game. That's the game I'm gonna have a Barbie night. That's the game I'm gonna make up some fake monkey noises. I'm gonna do my best to try to chase clout from that game the best that I can. But Angel Reese wanted no part of that last night. Oof. But she chased something else. Shout out to the Pope. She chased some bloopies. Oof. Angel Reese, rough game last night for Angel Reese.
Clark is now 5-1 against Reese. That is not a rivalry. That is a pattern. Now look at what Clark did while sick. 17 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds, a near triple-double. And her shooting was actually cold. 6 of 17 from the field, 2 of 8 from 3. So why did Clark call this one of the best floor games she has played in a really long time? Because she stopped forcing and started conducting. She read the defense. She picked her moments. She guarded Ryan Howard one-on-one and put real pressure on the ball after a week of people questioning her defense.
One of the biggest The biggest rivalry, the biggest matchup that the WNBA can offer, the Indiana Fever versus the Atlanta Dream, and Angel Reese was a no-call, no-show. A no-call, no-show. It wasn't just her. Ryan Howard, no-call, no-show. Alicia Gray, no-call, no-show. Jordan Canada, no-call. But nobody cares about those other players, right? Nobody cares about those other three.
She sat down with Coach Breanne January, watched clips, then went out and helped hold Atlanta to a season low. Other guards disappear when the shot is not falling. Clark posted a near triple-double while emptying her stomach at halftime. And this is where the obituary writers missed the real point. Indiana did not need Clark to score 40. Kelsey Mitchell went off for 25 on 11 of 15 shooting, crossed 5,000 career points, and ripped off a personal 11-0 run in the third quarter that flipped a one-point game into a blowout. Aaliyah Boston added 19 points and hit 3 of 4 from deep, stretching Atlanta until it snapped. Mitchell and Boston combined for 44 on a night Clark struggled to shoot, and the Fever still won going away. Atlanta tried to take Clark's scoring out of the game. Boston and Mitchell made them pay for it anyway. And remember that supposed rift with Stephanie White. In the third quarter, the two of them chest bumped. Clark laughed about it after, joked that White has had a lot of surgery so she could have hurt her, and said she loves playing for a coach that fired up. So much for the fracture. Here is the bottom line. June 4th opened the Commissioner Cup, the same trophy Indiana won last season. The Fever were 4-4 on a losing streak, getting written off with a starting point guard throwing up at halftime. They walked out at 5-4, having held the second-best team in the league to a season low. That is not luck. That is a team that found out exactly who it is the moment things got ugly. Clark wants the MVP. The Fever want the title. And right now, the only people still calling this a rivalry are the ones who did not watch the game. So I want to hear it. Are you Team Clark or Team Reese? Drop it below.
This is crazy. Even when it's unintentional, Stephanie White just gets blasted and exposed. This time by one Draymond Green. We got Sophie Cunningham. It's so much to break down.
Everybody's piling on Caitlin Clark right now. 2 ugly losses, the cameras zoom in on her getting cooked on defense, and the whole internet already has its verdict. Caitlin Clark can't guard anybody.
And yes, everything is fine in Orange.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's not what I'm saying.
You know what's not fine? Coach White needs to fucking pipe down.
What?
Ease up. Okay, we got the franchise. All right, so guess what? If she wants to come over to the bench and pout and scream and not play defense, she can. All right?
What? See, that's the problem.
Stand down, you let her do whatever the hell she wants, and let's keep this thing moving.
But Draymond Green looked at that same tape and saw something completely different. And once you see what he's pointing at, you won't be able to unsee it. Because the real problem in Indiana right now might not be Caitlin Clark at all. It might be the people standing right next to her.
We all know Stephanie White has been an abomination of a head coach, especially to start off this season. The Indiana Fever are sitting at 500 at 4-4. This is ridiculous. She's subbing Caitlin Clark out every 3 minutes, subbing her out the first 3.5 minutes in the first quarter, playing 11 different players in first quarters, all types of foolishness and nonsense. Yet alone, this we're switching 1 through 5 defense. That's an absolute joke. This is a professional league. Stephanie White has been a travesty. We got to get into what Draymond Green had to say.
Let's set the table. The Fever just dropped 2 in a row. First, a tight one to the Golden State Valkyries, then a brutal 16-point beatdown from the Portland Fire, a team playing in its very first season. And in that Portland game, Clark had a night to forget. 6 points. 1 made shot out of 7, in foul trouble the whole way. So yeah, the clips looked bad. Portland went right at her over and over, dragging her into one-on-one situations all night long. But here's the first thing that should make you stop and think. This wasn't a one-game thing. Clark has guarded more isolation plays than any other player in the entire league this season.
We all know that people we've all been addressing, and we've shown film breakdowns of Stephanie White's horrendous defense. Okay, now do we have the greatest defenders in Caitlin Clark? No. In Kelsey Mitchell? No. Even Sophie Cunningham? No, she's not a great defender. But to sit there and switch 1 through 5 to play no help defense, it's an absolute joke. Now let's take a look at what Draymond Green had to say before we get to Sophie Cunningham.
Jalen Brunson living on an island with James Harden guarding. That's just not something you can let happen. This isn't just a coaching issue. When you're trying to compete at a championship level,
This applies to Caitlin Clark in the Stephanie White situation as well. Follow along now.
You can let happen. This isn't just a coaching issue. When you're trying to compete at a championship level, you must have guys that want to take on that challenge. I'm not switching at this point in the game. Let them set the first screen, don't switch. Let them set the second screen, don't switch. Now, as opposed to Jalen Brunson getting the switch with 19 seconds on the shot clock, 17 seconds on the shot clock, now he gets to switch with 6 or 7 seconds on the shot clock. Now you gotta go. Now our defense can react and we just end up in a rotation. But he's not just dicing us up. You got guys in there that don't really want that challenge. They don't want to fight through the screen and say, this is my matchup, I want to stop this guy. I don't understand it. Guys simply don't know how to win, don't want to do what it takes. I was baffled by this. I'm still baffled by it every night when I watch these guys accept switches and not really want to guard the guy. So
that applies directly to the Indiana Fever, more so with this joke of a game plan. And Sophie Cunningham revealing, oh, we only have one defense, and that's the switch 1 through 5. He's showing you can't do that. It's lazy, it's a joke, and you're gonna get destroyed that way, the way the Indiana Fever have.
Sit with that for a second. Out of everybody, she's the one teams keep hunting every single night. So the real question isn't why is Caitlin Clark stuck on an island. The real question is, why does she keep getting left there? And that's exactly where Draymond comes in. Draymond Green knows this story better than almost anyone alive because he lived the other side of it. For a decade in Golden State, his whole job was protecting Steph Curry, and Curry is one of the most hunted players in basketball history. Teams spent years trying to drag him into bad matchups and pick on him. So how often did you hear people call Steph Curry a defensive liability who was killing his team? Almost never. Why? Because the Warriors built everything around shielding him.
Everybody going to come out and say, oh man, James Harden got annihilated. They're picking on him. They should pick on him. Why not? Absolutely pick on him. So all of a sudden, them threes that will fall late, they fall short. No matter how you want to slice it, it is not James Harden's job to guard Jalen Brunson one-on-one. It's not what he's paid to do. Some of those other guys who's just switching off, it is your job.
Shout out to Draymond Green. This applies directly to the Indiana Fever.
Draymond fought through the screens. Draymond took the tough matchup. The whole defense was designed so Steph could be Steph and never get left out to dry. That's not luck. That's how every great franchise treats its franchise player. You build the walls around your superstar. And Draymond has already said out loud what Indiana needs. Back in 2024, when teams were taking shots at Clark, he told the Fever to go invest in an enforcer fast.
We spoke about, we would get into is the Kennedy Carter and Caitlin Clark situation. Number one, I saw she came out like, enforcer who? Talking about my tweet. There's no shot at you. I like the play. Like, it was a for sure bullshit play. Like, you just run up and chuck the girl. But I'm all for that. I'm not the guy that's gonna come out here and be like, you shouldn't do that. No. But my point is they should get an enforcer so that when you do that, somebody come club you. Because that's what should happen. Like, you don't get to just do something to Steph Curry. I'm sorry. I'll get thrown out 82 times. Like, you just don't get to, like, hit Steph. Like, that's not what we gonna do here. And by the way, Steph gonna stand up for him. Steph ain't no, I can't say the word I wanna say, but ain't none of that in my brother blood. He gonna stand up for himself anyway.
He sees it. So look at Indiana and ask the obvious question. Where are Caitlin Clark's walls? But before you answer, there's one stat that flips this whole conversation upside down. Here's the part nobody pushing the Clark can't defend story wants you to know. The numbers don't even back it up. By one defensive rating, Clark sits a hair below average. Not the worst on her team. Not even close. And once you count what she does on offense, she's a team best plus 18 overall. Then there's this. When one outlet ranked the league's worst defenders, Clark wasn't in the top 10. She came in 14th. 14th. So this idea that she's some historic defensive disaster, it's a story. A loud, lazy, convenient story. And it sticks for one simple reason. Caitlin Clark drives clicks. Praise her or bury her, her name prints money, so the easy take wins every time. Meanwhile, the harder, truer take just sits there, ignored. The most hunted guard in the league is getting almost no help, and the people whose actual job is to scheme around her still haven't figured out how to protect their most important player. That's not on Caitlyn, that's on the staff and the roster. And honestly, the wildest part of all of this is how she's handling it. Because Clark isn't blaming the scheme, she's not calling out teammates. After that Portland loss, she stood up and took it on the chin. Said she just needs to keep her defender in front and move her feet a little better. That's her taking the blame, while the people getting paid to build walls around her keep leaving the door wide open. So here's where I land. Caitlin Clark is not a perfect defender. Nobody's saying she is. But she's the most targeted player in the league, posting the best two-way numbers on her own team, and somehow she's the villain. Draymond sees it, the stats see it, and now you see it too. So what do you think? Is this really a Caitlin Clark problem, or is everybody just blaming the easiest name on the jersey? Drop it below. I want to hear it.
All right, you guys, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, shall we? The biggest news story in the WNBA, obviously, everybody is talking about Coach Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark kind of getting into it on the bench. I have now seen the discourse. I've seen and heard what many of people are saying about this exchange, and I do have some thoughts about it. I have some thoughts about the whole Indiana Fever situation right now.
Everything you thought about the Indiana Fever drama just got worse. From the bench to the front office, this franchise looks like it is in full panic mode when it comes to handling Caitlin Clark. You can see it in the games, the press conferences, and even the way the organization responds to criticism.
It looks like Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever front office and all that coaching staff are under tremendous heat. They are under fire right now from Fox News, USA Today. I mean, you name it, CBS, Yahoo, ESPN. They are in a lot of heat. And a lot of people now online are calling for an investigation on this coaching staff for potential abuse to Caitlin Clark.
Today, we're breaking down three things. First, the coaching decisions that keep killing momentum. Second, the front office controversy that has fans furious. And third, why more people are starting to talk about the unthinkable, a future where Caitlin Clark decides she has had enough.
OMG. Now, last week I told y'all, when footage was coming out of Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark being buddy-buddy on the sideline, them dabbing it up, laughing it up, I told y'all this was a PR stunt because everybody was questioning Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White relationship. Now, Stephanie White did an interview last week, and in the interview, she said her and Caitlin Clark are buddies. They like the best. It was on the Quarry Company little show, radio show.
Before we start, this is my opinion based on public games, interviews, and commentary. I am not inside the locker room. I am simply reacting to what fans, analysts, and the basketball world are seeing. Let's start with the game that lit the fuse. The Fever came out looking sharp. Caitlin was creating opportunities, Aaliyah Boston was dominating inside, and Indiana appeared to have control of the game. Then everything changed. The coaching staff pulled key players while Indiana still had momentum. Clark sat, Boston sat, and almost immediately the opponent went on a run that completely flipped the game.
And yes, everything is fine in Orange.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's not what I'm saying.
You know what's not fine? Coach White needs to fucking pipe down.
What?
Ease up. Okay, we got the franchise. All right, so guess what? If she wants to come over to the bench and pout and scream and not play defense, she can. All right?
What? See, that's the problem.
Stand down. You let her do whatever the hell she wants, and let's keep this thing moving. Okay?
That decision left fans stunned. You simply do not take both franchise cornerstones off the floor at the same time when they are driving everything that is working. Basic basketball strategy says you keep at least one of your stars on the court, especially when the other team is trying to make a push. Instead, Indiana rolled out lineups that struggled to score, struggled to defend, and watched its advantage disappear. The bigger problem is that this does not feel like a one-time mistake. Throughout the season, there have been stretches where Clark sits while the offense grinds to a halt. There have been games where Indiana seems determined to experiment with every possible lineup except the one that obviously works best, around its generational point guard. fans see it. Analysts see it. Even national commentators have started questioning whether these rotations make any sense at all.
I am freaking pissed right now. I am pissed off. Caitlin Clark, Stephanie White crashed out on Caitlin Clark on the bench and benched her throughout this game. That is what happened. We got footage of Stephanie White crashing out and benching Caitlin Clark. Stephanie White, who the hell you think you are? You was a bum. They ran your sorry ass out of Vanderbilt. They ran you out of there and fired your sorry ass. You was a bum. You haven't won nothing in the WNBA. You've been trying to hitch your wagon to being an assistant for a championship team. Your sorry ass haven't done nothing. Who the hell you think you are to be talking to Caitlin Clark like this?
When your best guard and your best big are constantly separated, when the pick and roll that should be the foundation of the offense barely appears, and when the team repeatedly loses momentum after substitutions, people are naturally going to ask questions. And that's where the real controversy begins, because the issues are no longer staying on the court. While fans are criticizing the coaching, the front office has found itself facing backlash of its own. Reports and screenshots have circulated online suggesting that team leadership has blocked or dismissed fans who question the organization's handling of Caitlin Clark and the team overall.
I mean, it's been absolute insanity. You got Caitlin Clark fans calling for an investigation upon this organization for potential abuse from the staff that is handling her. We saw what happened with Stephanie White, but we're going to go through a slew of these things, and then we're going to take a look at KC with Behind the Line as he dove into this, and he absolutely shredded the Indiana Fever for this situation. And it appears, man, people are not letting up. And it's been too many instances like this, okay? You got Brianne January going off on Caitlin Clark on the bench and all of this stuff. It's been nonstop, okay? This is just one instance. You got this Brianne January situation. Then you had this situation here. Stephanie White pulling on her arm, tugging on her, and Caitlin Clark pulling her arm away right here. You know, it's just been a non-stop circus, and the people are calling for an investigation into this organization to see what the hell is actually going on. What is going on with these coaches? What's going on with all of it? And then you're gonna see here when I can't even remember this coach. She came and grabbed her, and people are just saying that this is abuse that is going on with Caitlin Clark. We watched her get grabbed up by a referee. We're watching Stephanie White pull her arm. We watched Brianne January go off on her on the bench. We obviously saw this interaction here. We saw this interaction with Stephanie White going off on her on the sideline and then throwing the clipboard. I mean, just it's been a lot. And I think it's over between Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White.
Think about that for a second. You land the most talked about player in women's basketball. Attendance explodes, television ratings soar. The entire league benefits from the attention. Yet instead of embracing the passion of the fan base, the organization appears to be fighting with it. Whether every criticism is fair or not almost becomes irrelevant at that point. The perception is what matters. And the perception right now is that Indiana looks defensive. Blocking fans does not solve lineup issues. It does not improve player development. It does not create a better offensive system. What it does is create the impression that pressure is starting to get to the people making decisions. That pressure has only intensified because national media figures are now openly discussing the situation. Several commentators have argued that Caitlin Clark's biggest obstacle is not the opposing team. It is her own organization. They point to questionable substitutions, inconsistent offensive schemes, and a lack of commitment to building the system around the player who has transformed the franchise's visibility overnight. And once those conversations start, things can escalate quickly. That is where words like sabotage begin appearing online. Now, to be clear, sabotage is a serious accusation, but once fans adopt that narrative, every decision starts getting viewed through that lens. A strange substitution, a questionable play call, a game-ending possession that goes somewhere other than Clark, a tense moment on the sideline. Suddenly, none of those incidents are viewed independently anymore. Instead, they become pieces of a larger story that many fans believe is unfolding. Whether that story is accurate or not is almost beside the point, because perception becomes reality. And the reality for many fans right now is that the Fever do not seem fully prepared to handle a superstar whose influence extends far beyond basketball. Which brings us to the most dramatic possibility of all, the trade conversation. Not because there are reports suggesting it is imminent, not because Caitlin Clark has said anything publicly, but because fans are beginning to ask the question, how long should a generational player remain in a situation that appears chaotic if meaningful changes never happen? Around the league, there are organizations that would immediately build their entire identity around a player like Clark. Stable coaching staffs, clear offensive philosophies, unified leadership. That contrast is exactly why the speculation continues growing. Would a trade request be shocking? Absolutely. It would send shockwaves throughout the WNBA. It would damage Indiana's reputation and force every decision-maker in the organization to answer difficult questions. But at the same time, continuing down the current path carries its own risks. Eventually, frustration has a breaking point. So what needs to happen? First, the coaching staff needs to simplify things. Establish a clear rotation, keep one star on the floor at all times, build the offense around the Clark-Boston partnership, and make opponents prove they can stop it. Second, the front office needs to stop battling criticism and start addressing it. Fans do not expect perfection, they expect accountability. And finally, everyone inside the organization needs to understand how rare this opportunity truly is. Players like Caitlin Clark do not come along often. Very few athletes can transform ratings, attendance, media coverage, and league-wide interest almost overnight. That kind of opportunity is priceless. The question now is whether Indiana can take advantage of it before the pressure becomes too much. So what do you think? Are we simply watching a young team trying to figure things out under an intense spotlight? Or are we witnessing the early stages of a much bigger problem that could eventually reshape the future of both Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever? Let me know where you stand.